Everybody behave yourselves now. Okay, let's see. So, okay, so what I'm going to do is share my screen. I've got a little slideshow ready for you as soon as I find it. Where did he go? Oh, there.
People look so different in their pictures rather than it's live.
Mm-hmm. So let's see.
Shared click
There.
original
Okay.
link.
There you go. We chat a bit. Got some astrology events. I want to talk a little bit about Venus retrograde if we have time. Like I say, as soon as we, oh, and here she comes. I'm going to stop sharing now
Hmm.
and we'll go back since Gail is here.
Oh,
Hi, Gail.
can't hear you.
Oh, you're muted.
Your microphone.
Okay, I should be unmuted. Can you see me?
Yes. Yes,
I
we
can
can see
see
you
you
and
and
we
hear
can hear
you.
you.
You can hear me. Okay. Make my mouthpiece closer. Okay, so are we waiting for a few more people?
Well, we were, but it's if you want to get started, go for it. If they, if they're running late, they're running late.
Okay, we'll wait another minute or two,
Okay.
you know. So we have,
Uh,
yeah. Okay, I can't see the bottom of my screen. What's the matter here? Okay.
well, Spencer was coming at it sideways to start with, so that was interesting. And I thought maybe he was going to fall out
Now
of his
he's not
chair or
even
something.
now he's not even there. He ran.
Now he's there. He just put on his
Oh,
Harry Potter invisibility cloak.
okay.
Okay. So anyway, I'll get us started now, and then people can come in or not come in, whatever. Do they just get the recording later? Is that what a lot of people do?
Yeah. So
Okay. Okay. So anyway, I always date. Today's date is February 9, 2025. This is Gail Minogue, and I am going to be speaking about current, future, whatever, regarding the cycles, trends, regarding numbers, but also the big numbers besides just the local year, which is a 2 year for the United States. It's a 9 year for the world, but it's a 2 year for the United States, which is we're not going to get that far if we don't cooperate, have patience, diplomacy, and tact. And so it'd be interesting to see. I mean, we've only had a few weeks of this new president, but he's true to form. So none of this should be a surprise. It's just a doubling down on a lot of stuff and better planning while he was been out of office. So, but a lot of this is not going to really stick without diplomacy, tact, patience, and compromise, persuasion. And that's not what he's known for, nor are his minions. And so we have to see what backfires and what doesn't stick and all the unintended consequences of these decisions. But you have to understand a bigger picture that's going on in the world, and particularly in the United States. Um, we're ending a 50-year cycle. America goes through these 50-year cycles and
Mm.
big 80-year cycles, and so they're kind of coming together. We have the ending of a big institutional cycle, which is the 80-year, and the social and cultural cycle, which is a 50-year. And so, what you're really running up against are the larger of the 80 cycle, which is really a completion of the period from the Second World War. And then you're hitting up the ending of the Reagan era, which started in 1980, which will finish up by 2030. So the final 10 years of the cycle is extremely disruptive. And all you have to do is go back to the last 10-year cycle that we finished up of a 50-year cycle, which would make you in the 70s, which was extremely chaotic. We still had the Vietnam War. We had we had Kent State. Remember, they shot the National Guard, killed some Ohio students, and that's why you do not send the National Guard into another campus, no matter what the president says, do not do that because it just gets out of hand. Someone is going to end up dead. And then you had all the marches and you had women, independence. It was just went on and on and on. You had a lot of assassinations and you had the hostage with Iran. It was just an awful 10-year period. And that's what this period is too. It's a hard, harsh, ugly period because now you've got two cycles bumping up against each other, the big 80-year cycle, ending of this entire 80-year cycle of our institutions. And then you have the big Pluto visit of Pluto in Aquarius, which is death and transformation and a revisiting of the original America's birth. So we're really kind of revisiting like 1780, and so we look at this, the last 80-year cycle was from World War II to the present, and that brought in again what I will call the age of the experts, because after World War II, everybody was an expert. We went to the experts for our information. As you can see, the age of the experts is breaking down. Nobody trusts anybody, nobody believes anybody, and what's his name? Fauci's being run out of town and tarred and feathered. And, it's the end of this age of experts. That's what the bigger picture is all about. So these are America's big cycles. The last big cycle before World War II was the Civil War. So you still have remnants of that in this 80-year cycle. So there's a lot of unfinished business. I mean, basically the Confederacy never died, never really did die. And you have remnants of it still filtering through. And, all the problems of the Confederacy and the Civil War and the aftermath and Jim Crow and all that lies dormant. So you have an institutional crisis. If you go into,
Well, she froze.
you go to Texas, it's a different zone. They were a republic. And I think one of the things they miss is that they're not a republic. And, so we have to take a look at a much bigger picture than just will the interest rates go up or down? Will the magnificent seven stocks continue to the value? There's a much bigger game at play here versus a personal year number two. But my feeling is just going right now that you're going to see backfires, but it's going to take a while because what is happening is the executive branch has gained a lot more power. It's stepped into a void. It's gained more power each generation of a new administration. And we have become extremely conservative in our leading the country. So we don't have really any pushback from a congressional house at the time or Senate. My feeling is all these people will be cabinet members. They're not going to stand in the way, even if they're awful. And so I think you will see, I would be very surprised if Kennedy does not get put in charge of health. And even though he's the most unhealthy looking leader, dreadful looking, he just did so much drugs. And he has the drug face. And then you have all these other people that are way out driving their headlights, and they're put in charge of enormous organizations. So we have to wait and see till they fall, some of this falls, or some of it doesn't come through, or the public starts to be affected. Right now, they're not being affected yet. It's only a few weeks. So you give him the time period. My feeling is that from the latter part of this month, February, until the end of May, it's very, very hard for the United States. And it's going to be tough for anyone who's in leadership, meaning Trump. So nothing would surprise me that he does not make it through his term. Nothing surprised me. I would be surprised if he makes it through his term. So that's one thing. Anyone, because of the position of these elections in 2024, no one, whoever was going to win, would be able to lead well, neither Harris nor Trump. It was going to be a one-term president. If it was Harris, she would have been only a one term because there's that much chaos and change in play. And you have to get through the 20s to get to a new dawn and a new way of doing things. Nothing would surprise me either that when this is all said and done, we change the representative government that we have. Because we've been having a representative government for a very long time. That's how big this period is. Do we change that institution? And because Pluto has not been in Aquarius and we're in the age of Aquarius, they're knocking up against each other. So it is more people oriented. So gradually, that's why I'm feeling that the representative model over time will not stand. So that's something to chew on. It's not going to happen overnight. Obviously, it's not even going to happen in these next 8 or 6 years, but it's heading that way. So all of this, what I'll call crazy business, is necessary to disrupt and level the old systems, especially social cultural, which is exactly what you're seeing. It's very destructive. So you have to manage yourself to be able to adapt to these times. You have to be able to manage. And those who cannot are going to suffer. So it's not a pleasant outlook. This year is particularly difficult for the United States alone. And it's difficult for Trump, but not yet. And my feeling is his health will be impaired this year. Now, I don't know how or what or anything. I don't think he looks as good as he did, say, 6 months ago. And I don't know what's going on with him, but nothing would surprise me in this period of, say, March, April, May, that something impairs his health. And nothing would surprise me if he does not last the term. First of all, he would be 82 at the end, and he's not a good 82. He's not a healthy 82, you know. And so a lot of stuff, people say, oh, it's very healthy, but until it's not. So you can expect continual chaos and upheaval this entire year. Now, a lot of stuff eventually, we don't have an opposition here. We don't have an opposition. The Democrats are basically fractured. They have no bully pulpit. They have no leader. They have no loudmouth. They have, unless they're laughable loudmouths. But there's no one you can take seriously in the Democratic Party now who can get up there and arouse the citizens. So they have to be very realistic, and I don't know that they are. Their conversations are, they rightfully lost that election, and you can see all the ways they did. America's not interested in transgender, but Trump has made it an issue. And so now it's which is so smaller than life, really, of the population. But the Democrats seem to be not able to have any opposition to anything that's being said. And the Republicans are going to go along with Trump because they don't want to be primaried out in the spring. And he has that threat. He can go on Twitter and all that stuff and be able to crucify them. So they're very terrified, and they haven't gotten their sea legs back. And the other thing too is that you have to if these plans that are now starting to play out, this Department of Efficiency will go too far. Everything will be an overreach because the tendency of someone who is like Trump will overreach, but it hasn't no backlash because I'd give it a year and a half. And so to start the misery or some of the things backfiring or the backlash. Now, if things go awry, then you can see the Democrats taking back the House in 2026.
Gail, can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, sure.
The observation, I came to it, but then I realized other people did too, is that basically Trump lost. He's the only one that was running against women, Hillary and Kamala. So is it also because we still have a misogynistic country
Well,
that
we have We have a misogynistic country, but Harris was a lousy candidate. She dropped out immediately out of her 2020 primary. Most of all her positions have been appointments. Or somebody died and she filled a space. She has not really run in any type of really big
Mm,
league.
mm.
And when she got in it, she was immediately dropped out. She had such poor performance. So she is not a good, healthy candidate. And her message was lousy. You don't have a presidency built on joy. We're not going to build on joy. And she picked a poor uh,
Platform.
platform and vice president choice.
Oh. Mm,
So she built her own grave. And, Clinton was undermined by Comey at the end. And nobody really knew how to handle Trump, but he didn't have the power that he now had. But the end was really Comey who put the nail in her coffin. So I think if America put up a really good candidate who didn't run on somebody else's real coattails like Clinton or Harris, that was a disaster. But a lot of money was raised, which that means there's just a lot of money out there, but you didn't reach the people. And you're not going to reach the people by giving them so much for a down payment on a house when they don't have the rest of the down payment. Asinine, asinine. And then she never even visited Florida. She stayed only in these, toss-up states that she thought, and she lost everyone. I hope she does not run for the governor of the state. She's got to find another way to use the politics of the world and not run for office, not locally, not in the state of California. Because we need it. If you look at California, California is kind of going through some of the same stuff. It's shot itself in the foot the way it handles. And I think somebody made a what if someone came in and really could run one of the big Democratic cities well, because they all have huge, huge problems. And they're all run by Democrats and they're all run by unions. And, you know, until that happens, you can't point to this or point to that. You point to the problems of these big cities, which are all run by Democrats. And that's a huge disadvantage that they don't know how to change. They won't change. It's really entrenched. I mean, I'm looking at stuff for the city of Los Angeles with this new, she's just got a new consultancy firm from Evanston, Illinois, who's going to run this program of what the city's going to do to put the fire areas. And so what is this consultancy going to cost? It was all done in secret. And, if you start to take it apart and the couple of hundred staff members that Bass has, and then you take it apart, the new head of the DWP, a woman from the Sacramento area, a young woman from Puerto Rico, she was appointed last summer. Her starting salary is $750,000. The homeless woman, the woman who was appointed by Bass to run the homeless thing, and our homeless situation is terrible. Her starting salary last year was $450,000. So it's these cities have all the similar problem, run by unions, and extremely wasteful, corrupt, run by unions and developers. So we don't have a good example to say, look what such and such did, and da da da. So the Democrats are in a weak position, which we know, and they need to really understand what they have done and what they need to do. And until that happens, you're going to have this extremely ridiculous conservative, powerful group. And now you have the Christian nationalists, which is a very strong movement, very strong movement. It can undermine a lot. They've been in that works for years. This didn't just happen with Trump. It's been coming. And one thing the Republicans do, they're extremely organized. They're focused, one focus, and they don't take prisoners. That's how they work. So this is going to be the 2020s. I've said this for a long time. The 2020s were going to be very challenged for America, very challenged for the world, but particularly for the United States, because it's still the leading power, which gets me to another thing that we have. About every 250 years, we go to every 250 years, we go through another empire. So the empire is the ending of what we'll call the American Empire. And that's another big trend. If you go back into ancient history and um, you look at, say, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, you start to look at the Roman Empire, you look at the British Empire, you look at the Ottoman Empire. Everything is close to 250 years. The Roman Empire was gone in 473, but first it was a republic, and then it became an empire. So you have these periods, and there's many more empires, but the average length is 250 years. And we replaced the British Empire. And you can see when that fell, when India fell, that empire was done. And so it just took time. And so we stepped into the void. We became the world power after World War II, as a lot of the world was destroyed. And we stepped into it, and we were so successful and powerful, and we still are. We are the most powerful of whatever, but we're not the only power. Before we didn't have really a big opposition. The USSR fell, and then Russia could not really take the place of USSR. And then China is coming into its own in a big way, but all of these have a lot of internal problems, but they're all now vying for power. Even Iran is vying for power. So we're not the only game in town anymore. So it's real careful of how we play these next few years in the world of power and what we do or don't do. Let's see, Dominique wanted to hear the 9 year and the Pluto and Aquarius role in things. Well, Pluto and Aquarius is taking it away from, we had what, Pluto in Capricorn, and Capricorn contracted everything. We had Pluto in Sagittarius, it expanded everything. That's when we really had cheap airfares and big, huge houses, and these easy loans, it's just ridiculous. And then you went to Capricorn where everything was government in bed with politics. And so you had government with the corporations. They slept together. That's what we're coming out of. We're coming out of government sleeping with corporations. And look at, we've always had a corporate structure to America's politics. You go back to the 1800s, 1700s, go on back to the beginning, 1812. You always had corporations somewhat in power, but now it's more influential, more concentrated, and you have a situation where Pluto in Aquarius, okay, is a very powerful opportunity and very fast for us to be very technologically advanced. It's going to happen even faster than we've seen, much faster than we've seen. So we call it exponential. And that's very positive. The downside is the more we go into the technological realm, the more detached we become. And you're seeing it now. I mean, um, you know, I have kids who you talk to them and they're always on their phone. You're sitting in the same couch. You want to watch TV? No, mama, they watch it on their phones. And so everything is more and more detached. And just even now, where we used to meet in person, it's harder. It's easier to just do Zoom. It's just more detached. There's no physical presence. And so what it's creating is a loneliness. Now they have anti-loneliness campaigns. And you have a situation where people are lonely because they don't have their sense of community. It's more and more detached. It's going to get more and more detached. So we're going to have to go out of our way to create a sense of community. And that's challenging because people are now used to technology, phones, um, whatever they use to communicate. And, I had a very large plant. I just sold it yesterday on OfferUp and, never met the person. And she Zelled the money. And she came, and it was so nice to meet her. She was terrific. But it was so, back and forth, dealing with the price of this one plan. It was ridiculous. So anyway, but before she had already put the money into my account. So it's this detachment. You no longer do this, do this, do this. Now, there's always something lost when something's gained. And this is what we have lost, is that sense of human energy. And it's very, you chat on the phone, I mean on the screen with a chat bot to fix a problem, and it may take you much, much longer. It's very random stuff going on, and you might get used to it. So go out of the way to make senses of community, join organizations, and that's even hard because um, they're going to Zoom as well. Just like there's an astrology group in Orange County. Are you raising your hand to give a question, Spencer?
Yeah, I want to hear more about AI in the future because I think it's tremendously difficult. Kids are even now making their wedding vows with AI, and it's going to a point where you're not going to have to pay for your groceries at a checkout. You just walk by with a badge on, and out the door you go. I think it really is a crisis on one hand for the displaced worker, and now we have the displaced white collar worker. That's one thing. I think you were brilliant about the fact the Confederacy isn't dead. Let me explain. 1943, I was born in 1943. Let's say I was born in 1843. Then that right now would mean it would be 2020. I would be 81 years old. Okay. If you're 81 years old, the people who were born at the time, a whole group of people who got involved in the 30s, they were all old enough to tell their grandkids and their own kids, look at what's going on here. Okay. So that's something that bothers me because we are carrying, as you said, such a residual part of the Confederacy with her. I mean, it's drummed in. And I think it's even getting more drummed in as we separate more and more by being unions, race, all this stuff. Uh, and the other thing that I would like you to talk to a little bit is climate. How, where do you see the climate being in 5 years?
Well, let me try to address some of that. I'm reading an ancient. I'm really about. I took many, many classes with professors on the Near East, the ancient Near East, because I like to study the ancient to see what was on and what happened. Let's go back thousands of years. So right now I'm reading a book after 1177 BC, which is destruction of all these civilizations that were so advanced, and they came out of the Bronze Age. And after 1177 BC began the Iron Age, and what was lost and how it was lost and what happened to these. And it's kind of chilling because some of the same things that happened to these ancient civilizations are going on right now.
Are
Drought,
you in
famine.
the Yugo thing? Let me ask one quick question. You sound exactly like the Yuga group. Have you had any experience with
No,
them?
I don't know the Yuga group.
Well, you're saying the same thing that they say.
Okay, I can't,
Yep.
Spencer, I don't want to get too far away from, some of the subject that I want to get covered today. But
Okay.
I can honestly say that many of the symptoms that we're going through were very similar to what they went through until they were basically they were overrun by, you know, other larger groups that came in and slaughtered them. Once they learned how to make iron, which came out of the Iron Age, then they could create swords, and it took out a lot of people. But it is some of the similarities that were going on then are going on now. So you have to be careful. We have a situation where not enough people, as far as climate change goes, not enough people are, they're mouthing it, but they're not doing it. And so it is a problem. I don't see this as getting any better unless there's a miracle technological breakthrough that will oversee it and slow it and remunerate, but I don't see that. I see, particularly you're seeing in California, it's hotter. The summers are hotter, drier. Everything, is um, sort of ignored by a lot of the world. the main players. When the United States steps back, a lot of other countries have the permission now to step back, which is, but unfortunately for Trump, the oil industry is putting its money behind um, the new energy. It really not going into drilling more oil because it's a very expensive. They don't really, then it's a if come kind of thing. They're into plastics and they're into new energy. That's where their money's going. So I don't see you're going to have a lot more drilling. You can open all the pipelines you want, but I don't see where that's any, he's a dinosaur. He's a throwback to the last 50 years. So he cannot progress. He cannot progress, nor can he progress us, but he can destroy so that we can start fresh. And that's his purpose. His purpose is to break down systems and so that we can move from those systems into a more enlightened or a new type of governing. So my feeling is the age of Aquarian is definitely an age where it is more about humanity. So I feel that we will become more, but not yet, become more unified than we can be now, and it will take a few more years to do that. And I don't think my concern is what's going to happen in the meantime is you're going to have to really put up with a lot of this chaos. Right now, he's puffery. It's explosive. His worker bees have been working for 2 years to put that project 2025 in play. And all he's doing is signing something that came out of that, which was all part of the Heritage Foundation. But no matter what, either Harris or Trump were not going to be good leaders. And, so the name of the game is what are you going to get for 2028? 28. If anybody reads my blogs or has heard my Zoom programs, I've always said this was not the election. It was always 2028. And that's where you're going to start to see the beginning of the changes that you want. You won't get them before then, but you're going to see some of the breakdown of these agencies like USAID or whatever it is, and the Education Department. That was put together during the Carter administration. The USAID was put together during the Kennedy administration. So these were agencies formed from other presidencies and then have grown over the years. And as far as Elon Musk, he's definitely basically the election was between Harris and Musk because it was Musk's that pulled Trump across the finish line. And he's also kind of running the show, but in with agreement with Trump. So when this rough period begins, more like the end of this month, I think that's when you might see in a few more months a questionable situation with Musk and Trump. You're not going to see it yet. And he could not have been elected without Musk. And Musk doesn't care. He doesn't care. He just I can remember when he had his factory up north, him sleeping on the floor of the factory to get these cars out, and he would stay there all the time and sleep on the floor. So he's that kind of a guy. He's definitely uh what is this, Dominique? You said 20s or 20s would be very difficult. So could we have an open convention? What do you mean by I can't read the rest of it. What do you mean by an open convention?
Yeah, you said in 2020, I remember that the 2020s would be very difficult decade, and that when we moved
Yeah.
into 2030s, that it would get, that's where the real changes, and you said that there would be some constitutional rewrites by in the 20s. And so I'm just wondering if we get to 2028, would we have an open convention meeting like a bunch of Democrats, a bunch of Republicans? Like, would it be this kind of more open forum where we would choose?
Well, if it depends what we get done in the next 4 years, if you can eliminate a primary system, you have to be able to eliminate the primary system. Who's going to do that? So you eliminate the primary system, and none of these guys want to get out of office, but the people haven't risen up yet. And there's very possibly they will, but they're not there yet.
Oh,
You
they're
know,
going to. They're going to have to if they want to.
yeah, they're going to have to, because the only ones who have power are the people.
That's
And the
right.
people don't realize it yet. And so these parties are running the show and they're not servicing the people, but the people haven't pushed back until they are affected. So let's say your son is a federal worker and he's been had a good job and good benefits, and all of a sudden he's dismissed. Well, Trump dismissed my son, stuff like that. You have to have it get down to the personal level, and it hasn't worked its way down yet. And you haven't had a program where um, anybody touches Social Security or Medicare, because 83% of the budget is Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And um, I think maybe, I'm not sure if defense is in there or defense is extra, but the bulk of the budget is stuff you can't touch. So they're going for like a low-hanging fruit of USAID, which is nothing. It's like really little amount of money. And so is education department. They're important. But this makes a big show for the public, and it's all about show for the public. Remember, I think Trump has a powerful Leo in his chart, and
Yes.
he is showing you his Leo, and that's why he wears the hair the way it does. Because, with the mane of a Leo, they have to have that hair, even if it's bald, it has to be covered. So
He's
the
a Leo
thing,
rising and he has Mars on the ascendant.
well, there you go. So he has a prominent, he sees himself as king, and he sees himself as a lion roaring, and he sees himself full of hair and a big mane. And the poor guy has really not a lot of hair, but and as he goes into office, he looks more gaunt now in his face than he did a few months ago. So I don't know, but my sense is there's a health issue here this year.
There's a lot of talk about that. You're not the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or probably 10th person I've heard that he's not well and that he's likely not to make it through his
Yeah,
term.
I mean, I'm not putting money on it, but I'd say if it was going to happen, it would probably has a better chance of happening when spring comes. But he's he is, and that's why he's letting also Musk take the heat. Musk is taking the heat. Trump isn't taking the heat. Musk is taking the heat. We want to get rid of Musk. Who elected Musk? So he has distracted the people from the real issues. Real issues. So this is not surprising if you're ending a 50-year cycle that you have this kind of destruction. And so it's true to form. We'll get through it. But this big cycle, unfortunately, the United States has big cycles, more than just 9-year cycle, 2-year cycle. It has this major Pluto cycle. It has to take a look at what it did in 1780. It has to look at, do you want to still have this type of government running the show? At the same time, you have an ending of an empire, watching these others' power go. There will be a new leader of the world. It is now in formation. I do not know who it is, but it is in the works. And it's starting to be played out. Look at this deep seek or whatever that was with AI. AI is really a continuation of a more advanced semiconductor. It's just more advanced. And as it gets more advanced, it will become more advanced. So it right now it's looking for where can we put it, in what applications. So people say, well, it sounds good, but what is it? What do I do with it? Well, it's got possibilities, but it's not yet in play. And it also has to have energy, tremendous amount of energy. Where's that going to come from, and how's it going to be stored? So all this before you're going to be able to advance AI, you have to have storage and you have to have source of energy. So you will see maybe atomic energy come back. You have to do something, the way it is. And so there's a lot at play over the next 4 years that have nothing to do with USAID or the education department. But yes, artificial intelligence was very big. I don't know if anybody saw this, that the agreement has been struck in the state of California for all the state schools like Cal State Northridge or San Jose State, or all of these now will have a program supported by the big tech firms in California. I think there's 50 of them. The headquarters here, and don't quote me on the number, but I think it's 50. They're going to be working with the government to set up teaching programs in all the Cal states on AI for the students. This was in yesterday's LA Times. So it's just very powerful because we have to have an educated workforce who can do this. Right now, we don't have it. So people have to understand and learn AI, how to apply it and use it. So it's like when the internet came, we don't know what we can do with it. We didn't know we had a smartphone, what you can do with it. And so it will expand over the years. So it's in that infancy. This is a very much Aquarian, and it will go in more and more and more so that you will be, remember I said, part of texting and being in your phone all this time is to practice using mental telepathy eventually. So you'll be able to communicate just through your mind. You don't have to send something. But we're way off there. But this is coming. If you go back to a prior age of Aquarius, and you go back in time, we have. If you go back in time and you learn even the properties of the world, of the artificial boundaries of these countries, particularly in the Middle East, you can see the war going on there is so crazy. It's no, all these artificial boundaries they're just that, artificial, man-made. They're not really steeped in any kind of ancient tradition or what they were. And that basically that artificial stuff came out of the Ottoman Empire, which is over. And so there's a lot of resentment around the world, and you have a lot of it right here in the United States, which is what I mentioned about the Confederacy never did die. When you hear the Confederates, they all surrendered at Appomattox. No, they
Yeah.
didn't. Just Lee did. He had a big group, but there were others that didn't surrender, and they kept their militias. And it took a long time to haul them in. And they were very, very lenient. Grant was very lenient. He let them go back with their horse, go back to their farms and go back to work. So a lot of them kept the war going, and it never really, they never really, really, really surrendered. The whole place
Yeah,
didn't really surrendered. Yeah,
Gail,
Rita.
I was talking to a psychologist yesterday, and he was reading the Daily Stoic, Why Narcissistic Leaders Always Fail. And I was thinking of, and he was naming a few. Is there a cycle for that? Did you say that was like a 200-year cycle for these leaders?
Well,
Or
no, there's a 250-year cycle for empires,
250? Oh, okay.
for
250
empires
years.
themselves.
Okay. Which
And
probably would be by these leaders.
well, you could have several, but
Yeah. Okay.
an empire doesn't start from day one. It gradually builds and builds and builds until
Right.
it becomes.
Right.
And what the last stage of an empire, there's many stages of it. First, like that manifest destiny and all that stuff with the United States. Well, now we're in the end. We don't want manifest destiny. I mean, we want to stay inward but the last stage is where the politicians become performers. And so we're in the last stage. You watch, mainly we have a lot of performers. And even the president is a performer.
Oh, yeah.
And and Pete Hegseth, he's a performer. So all these people are performers, and they go on the talk shows and they perform, but they don't lead and govern. And that's the final stage of an empire's decline. Yeah, Spencer.
I have a question of what I call the power of the old people. And if you look at, let's start with Biden, first of all. He's a major problem because he did not give the open convention. He did not give any other candidates a chance to win the convention. He gave it to this vice presidency.
So what is the point? Tell me the point so I don't.
Point is, okay, we have Ginsburg. We have these people who are too old to govern, and they keep governing, and by not giving up the ghost or the power, they cause creator problems.
Well, they have.
Let me tell you one more thing. We're still surrendering the Supreme Court because of Ginsburg. She would not pass.
Well, yeah, she would not. Obama asked her to resign and she wouldn't. And that's ego. I never thought she deserved all the accolades she got because she screwed up big time and damaged. And so did Biden. He said in his initial that he would be a standing in president, and he went against his word. So you have people with big egos. And if you're a politician, you have a big ego. And when it goes to your head, you're in trouble. And what you leave is a big wake behind you, which is now the result we have of a decimated Democratic Party, which has to rebuild itself. And then you have a situation until the people rebel and they get rid of primaries. You're going to keep perpetuating this problem of putting people in office that really are not from the people, but that they have been handpicked and there's no opposition to them in the primary, really. And so, this is going to take time for the people to finally say we're fed up with these old people because we don't. You think Congress is going to get in and put age limits on their own office, and they're the ones who have the power to do it, and they're not doing it. And the people in America are not rebelling because you have a lot of people who have a lot of power in, say, very isolated areas, rural areas. For instance, just the way we have set up the Senate, when 40 million people in California get two representatives, and Wyoming gets two representatives in the Senate, and they don't even think they have a million people there. So there's a complete mess in the way this is going. That's why you have to go back. You have to go back to the original time we founded this country, which is the first time America is doing this and having to go back and assess. So it's going to take messy. And in some way, Trump is doing what he's supposed to do, which is it's destroying what we have in order for us to look at how we want to have a new day. What we want to do a new day. Coming 28, 32. 28 and 32. Yes. Go
Gail, I
ahead.
have a question. Do you think it's possible that during this period we'll get to a place where we want to write a new constitution?
I think what we will do is revise parts of the one we have.
Right, cut the terms.
Well, that could be one. There's other things
Oh,
that need to be clarified, or, will there be a new amendment? Maybe. But it's in the works. I mean, it's this first, you have to bring it to people's attention. You destroy what's there, or at least put cracks in it to see. And I don't agree with the way he's doing this. I think it's, uh, no, Project 2025 is not going to be rewriting it. They would like to. It has to come from the people,
Hmm.
not from the Heritage Foundation. And when anything gets excessive, there's always a counterbalance that it has to swing back. America is a 5 country. When it gets out of balance, God bless you. When it gets out of balance, it will have to correct itself. And so it got out of balance. It swung the other way. Now, what is it going to take to get it back to a balanced situation? America is basically a pretty honest country. It's pretty basic. The people are very innovative. It's got tremendous things going for it. And it will finally stop this extreme, 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 but it's not ready yet. It's not ready yet. And unfortunately, I think this is a very hard year. I think things can improve in the second half of next year, but I don't think you can look for a lot of jolly. So if you just be ready to get involved more so than you are. There's a lot of people just complaining. They're not doing anything. They're just complaining. The other thing too is that there's a whole segment of our society that's aging very rapidly. We have an enormous population that is, I forget the number, it's like 10,000 every day, people turning over 65. And so nobody's addressing this. No extra services. There's no social safety net. And the Republicans, for the most part, are lousy in providing a social safety net. They don't really do much of that. So, but you're going to have it in your face of elderly people with no care, and it's getting worse as the prices go up. People can't afford it. I'm moving. My husband's in a facility, and I have to move him. I'm moving him the 1st of March. What a month! I'm moving him the 1st of March to back to his original facility because I'm going to save $2,500 a month.
Mm.
And it's a huge chunk because he lost one of his long-term care policies in November. Plus, the place he's at is very well, really well. It's a great place, but it's really for people who are more independent. So, God forbid I didn't have any, we would be broke because he's already cost close to 400,000 for his care. People can't afford that. So what are you going to do for people who don't? And I had a woman, I went in to get a passport picture this year, and I jumped in this little dumpy place on Reseda Boulevard, a little tiny hole in the wall. You get a picture, I saw it in the window, and this woman came out. She was missing teeth, which right away there's poverty somewhere. And she was talking to me, and I said, thank you so much. You did a good job and all that. And she said her husband, who had a stroke, was home. She was old, and that I said, well, how do you manage? She said, well, when I leave in the morning, I make him a sandwich and I put it by his bed and I put him in diapers so he can have lunch. And then when I get home, I change his diapers.
Hmm.
There's no care. There's no care. She can't afford it. I said, what about a state? I'm going through all these programs I don't know much about, but what about a state program and this and that? What can you qualify for? See, there's no care in America. And this is a situation that is going to grow so big and so bad. Who's going to take care of it? Trump? You
Nope.
know? And so this is another problem that America is facing is the huge rise in the elderly and a reduction in the workforce. Not enough workers.
Oh,
So then
dear.
let's throw them out of the country, the immigrants, so we have less workers. So these are the backlashes when you start to see we don't have enough workers they're understaffed at his facility, or that you don't have enough staff for the facilities, enough staff for the hospitals, enough staff for the fields or the meat placking. What are you going to do?
Don't you think people are already seeing this? I mean, look at all those hundreds of thousands of people that protested and the immigrants, people that voted for Trump, and all of a sudden they're realizing we made a mistake because they can already see the mistakes. All that, what was the people that the immigrants that are needed, so they
Yeah,
went
well,
and walked
not
off.
yet. I mean, it's starting a conversation, but not yet. And a lot of people who voted for him who now know that they made a mistake do not admit it. They said, well, let's look and see, wait and see. Because my son-in-law is from Guatemala and El Salvador, his parents. So he has Latino friends, and some of them voted for Trump. And he said to them, how do you feel about him now? And they said, no, he's going to straighten all this out. No, he's not. He's just straight. They're in denial still.
Yeah.
Not long enough. You got to wait. So give it a year and a half. See? Have me back next year. We'll have a different conversation because we'll get out of 2025. So in the meantime, protect your assets. Be smart about it. Be really, really take a look at everything. Where can you increase your income? Where can you protect your assets and don't get into silly stuff? Because um, the market is weird right now. The stock market's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I just read an article yesterday that's talking about financial cycles and um, without getting into any great detail, it sounds like the financial cycles right now are at a position that it's only been in a couple of times in the history of the United States, and um, so it could be right for a significant correction, as they call them, which could lead to a significant drop in the markets. Dow and stuff that could go down substantially. Um, but
Well, they
I think
say
it
that
was,
every year,
yeah,
Jim. And
I
so
know.
we've been hearing that a long time. One of the things that will stop Trump is if the stock market goes down. He watches that
Hmm.
closely, carefully. He wants to control the Federal Reserve, and Powell is in there through 20 in the somewhere like mid of 2026, so he can't get
Hmm.
rid of him, and he won't quit. And so, but the markets, but they've been saying that every year. They did have a correction, but you still have AI, and that's going to keep going. But they have problems in enough data centers and enough storage, and that has to be
Yeah.
worked out before it can really blossom. But there's no doubt the problem with the stock market, it's overvalued. So
Yes.
you're paying too much, it's too much a share right now.
Yeah.
And so you
Uh,
have to say, what do we need? Maybe we need more Walmart instead of whatever.
yeah.
Something,
Uh,
Oracle or something.
you were talking about the aging population, and it, for whatever reason, reminded me of the movie Soylent Green.
Yeah, right. Boy, that's an oldie. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but that's one solution. Uh,
Well,
now
it's
the
really
other,
interesting. I always say that the entertainment industry, information coming from a higher source down to us comes through the creative people. Um, so you remember we had Cocoon and they were floating around with their light bodies around the swimming pool. And
Mhm.
so you have a lot of ideas that come there to the public because the public couldn't accept them any other way except through entertainment. So a lot of this fantastical stuff you see will come to pass over time, whether it's Soylent Green or it's a trip to Mars. But that's
Yeah,
another thing that it's a distraction. It's a distraction going to Mars. So that's not being addressed. But buying up Canada is another distraction. The same as building, it's a distraction. And if we can do enough of these, then the people will feed the people on hysteria and fear and but they won't bring up what's really needed. And
Gail,
that's
I
exactly what
have
we're doing.
another question. One of the things I've been following is nuclear fusion because the scientists are getting very close. Within 5 to 10 years, we'll have the kind of energy that will be so cheap that it will take care of our climate problem. Do you think that technology is part of this?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. We need something. Eventually, probably we'll do hydrogen, but not now. And nuclear, they take a long time to build. But I understand they're doing smaller ones. I know that Bill Gates is involved and and I think Amazon's building one for his data. How are you going to have enough energy for these data centers for AI?
Mm.
You're certainly not going to get it through oil or sunshine or wind. What are you going to do? So nuclear is not the old nuclear, but the more
The
advanced
nuclear
nuclear.
fusion, yes,
Yeah,
that's
yes,
what it's called.
yeah,
yeah.
fusion, not fission. Um, and on the subject of Trump and spring, Spencer and I were talking, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago or so, and we happened to be looking at his chart and looking at what was coming up around the time of his birthday. And yeah, it doesn't look good for him, but that's
Nice,
something that
Spencer.
we can talk about in a future meetup, probably March or April. I want to get
Yeah,
back to you and your numbers.
nobody, I mean, Jim, myself, we're talking about Liz Green and Trump. We're all born. We're September, but Trump is June. And I always
Mhm.
say this, I go, he was born in June into Queen's Hospital, and I was born following September in the same Queen's Hospital. And I always go, I hope they disinfected the crib before they put me in it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Which hospital in Queens? Because I was born in Queens. I
At
was born
Queen's
in
Hospital, I think. Yeah.
I was born in Mary Immaculate.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but and I just had my 84th birthday 2 days ago. Oh no, I was
Oh,
doing
Well,
happy birthday.
Yeah,
Wow,
Can
Gail. I
can
didn't
you believe
realize
yeah,
that? I
that.
can't believe. And
congratulations.
tomorrow morning I'm having surgery at 5:30 in Beverly Hills. I have to have some repair work done. I'm terrified, but I'm trying not to be scared.
Yeah,
Oh, I'll put
I
good thoughts for
it'll
you
be good.
there. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it'd be good, Anyway, I'm happy that we're in the Aquarian age. I'm happy that we have Pluto finally got out of Capricorn. And
Yes.
we have our forward look. See, we're working forward by looking back. So
Mm.
we're not really looking forward. We're looking to solve the future problems with an old method, and it won't work. That's why Harris wouldn't work and Trump can't work. They're looking backwards through from the 80 to now to solve today's and future problems, and they won't work.
Yeah.
These methods don't work. So that's why you got to hobble yourself through the next 4 years.
Mm.
We will, but just, kind of not be surprised and, oh, shoot, It's part
And I
and
think
parcel. Like Jimmy
Mhm.
Carter could not get reelected because he was trying to solve the problems in the same way that FDR did. And it wasn't going to work. So Reagan came in and opened up the money markets, which was going to be
Yeah.
work. Now somebody's going to come along and open up the next cycle, which won't be built on this period that we have since Reagan. So it won't be the capital corporate situation, government corporate situation. But you got to
Yeah.
get through this ending, I'm sorry to say. So does that
Well, I think
answer everybody's questions?
I
Yeah.
was gonna say that the thing that we need to keep in mind is that 25 is really a very much a transition year because
Yes, it is.
Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune are all going to step into the next sign, but they're not going to stay there. They're just going to kind of like check it out, and then they're going to go back to where they are. And then in 26, they will make the final transition. So we've got Saturn and Neptune transitioning into Aries and Uranus transitioning into Gemini, all permanently in 26,
Yeah.
which
So
is
this
the
way,
next
this year is
election.
just,
Yeah. This is just
I
a,
say that
oh,
by
what a,
midpoint of next year, things should be, a whole lot better. Plus, we'll be in a 3 year for the United States, which is a lot easier than a 2 year.
yeah. And next year's a 1 year.
Yeah, universally 1 year, new beginnings.
Yeah.
But we're still in this old formula,
Yeah.
still in the old formula. So if it's
We
like
just have to get through a year. We just have to
we
get
have to
through.
get to 2028. Well,
Well,
actually,
yeah.
we've got to get to finally this rally. The new day is really the end of 2020, 2032. So you
Mhm.
will not even recognize the United States in 2032. That's how different it's going to be here. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, we'll look
Yeah, the
back on
world.
this, but a lot of stuff has to end, including that big 80-year period of
Yeah.
the, and we now have tremendous number of experts and all these self-help books on memoirs of 30-year-olds. It's really a riot, you know.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you my life story. I just turned 35. Really? And I'm going to help you. Really? Really, we don't get going till we're 50. You have to be integrated enough with 7 soul cycles. You got to have 7 of those to get to really where you're integrated. So you're really not until you're 50. And so you have a lot of young people who are now cabinet members who don't know their ass from their nose, really. But they're going to
Yeah.
fake it. And you got a 27-year-old press secretary. She hasn't even had her Saturn return yet.
It's
Camilla.
coming.
But
Oh,
she meets the requirements for Trump, which
Yeah, she
is
has to be a performer. Remember, all
yes.
these people are performers. Look at that Christy Nomer shot her dog with all the law extensions in the hair
Hey,
all the shoot ups in the face and the camera and Pete Hexex, the slick fox. It's a performer.
yeah.
This when you look at it like that, you can see, oh yeah, wow, of course. Okay, I'm
Mhm.
gonna go. So no
Yep.
more questions. Thank you so much. Fun to see you all again.
What about the year by the numbers? You get a quick rundown for 1 through 9?
Well, this is a 2 year, so it's patient, compromise, diplomacy, tact,
Yeah.
and then
But
next
on a
year.
personal level?
Oh, a personal level, add your month, like
Yeah.
whatever month you're born. So I'm born on February. I'm born on the 6th. So I add them together
Mhm.
and I add them to the number 9 universal year. So you add your month and day to the universal year, which is 9. So I am in what am I in? I'm in an 8 year, which is yay. I'm glad to be out of a 7 year because a year of 7 is so exhausting and I just dropped out of everywhere.
hmm.
Yeah, I just dropped out. I didn't attend and I just didn't want to and I didn't care. And that's a 7 year and you're just tired and you just and dealing with my husband's issues, which never stopped and only got worse. I don't know why he is still alive, but he is.
Hmm.
And he just continues to deteriorate. So that's another reason to have him moved. And so anyway, 7 years are very, very tiring. People who press themselves in a 7 year are really foolish because they won't be productive and they'll get sick, so that will slow them down. That's purposely, if you're not slowing down in 7 years, then the universe comes in and makes you go down. And so the 2 years, patience, compromise, tact, persuasion, and 3 year is networking and changing your appearance is fun. It's great. You need to be out there, not, it's a very creative year, expressive, good year for doing any creative work, but also making yourself much more of networking and attending and things like that. And the 4 is work. You got to work. You've got to roll up your sleeves. It's not a fun year, but it's a productive year, and you want to build a good foundation. Be very practical. It's very Saturnian, a 4-year. It's Earth. It's ruled by the planet Earth, so you have to become more earthy and grounded in a 4-year. Well, work and don't complain. Just roll up your sleeves and do it, and be very practical. Clip your coupons. Don't eat out so much, and all that kind of stuff. And then number 5 is where you really come on out and market and change and travel and market and promote yourself. Do not sit back, go move in a 5-year. It's the year, it's the number in the middle. Look at your past, see what you need to change, and then move forward in your 6th year. Responsibility, 6-year responsibility, domestic responsibility, family, health. Tend to your health in a 6th year. Believe me, eat right, change your nutritional habits, do things that help your health. You will be held more responsible, whether you're married or not. You'll end up with responsibility for something more than you had. The 7, again, is your rest, recovery, assess year. You're planning. What are you going to do? It's an ending year, 7, but you don't really end. You make your decision to end in a 7-year. 8-year is what I'm in. It's really where I need to get back out. I need to really promote myself. I need to handle all these finances and contracts. And boy, are they coming in already. Yikes. And that's why I made a decision to move. It's very much an 8 presence. I'm going to cut I'm going to be practical, but I'm also going to plan, whether you have a business, is this business functioning? What do you need to make it? Very much your ship's in the harbor, so make sure you harvest. 9 years, you finish up and complete. When my mother died, she died in my 9th month in September, on the 9th day, in the 9th hour at 9:14 on the death certificate, in my 9-year. It's a big
Wow.
ending year, 9-year. You need to get out of a job, you need to get out of a marriage, you need to move. This is your ending, it's your completion. So when you start up a new life in your 1 year, yay, you don't want to carry a lot of old baggage from your last 9 years. So does that help?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go. My son is here. He's doing the honors, taking mother to the hospital tomorrow, and then
Oh,
staying with me and make
all
sure
right. Well,
I don't
all
get drunk and disorderly afterwards. Jesus,
right. Well, have fun and take care.
I
Gail,
will.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you, Gail.
yeah.
It was
Thank you.
wonderful.
Gail,
Thank you.
Okay.
do you have my contact, Gail?
I have
I
your
still
what?
have yours. Do you still have my contact?
Why don't you give it to me? I probably do, Rita.
Okay, you want me to give it to you right now?
Yeah,
Oh,
sure. I
what do
got a
you,
pen.
you want the phone?
Whatever you want to give me.
Okay,
Yeah.
213-300-5295, so you can text me. So let me know if you need anything, check
Oh,
in,
thank you.
okay?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why you haven't seen me around. But I will be.
yeah, I
Okay.
know, because we hadn't gone to lunch for a while, so okay.
I know. Okay. And they closed our restaurant. So
I was gonna
anyway,
say that they closed our favorite restaurant, yeah.
okay. Bye,
Okay, sweetie,
everybody.
take
Thanks,
care.
Gail.
Bye,
Thank
Bye-bye.
Gail.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you, bye-bye.
All right.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay. Let's get back to the program already in progress. Mm,
Well, I didn't know she was going in for surgery. I hadn't spoken to her for a while, so we'll find
Yeah.
out. Yeah. You never know.
Let's see what's going on here. Hang on. Mhm.
Well, the one thing I
Mhm.
can say about Gail is she's always given me good advice and it's worked out.
Mm, mm,
I mean, she told me my 8th year to get out of debt, and I did.
okay.
It was the best thing I ever did just because of that.
Yeah, well, she works with the
Yeah.
numbers, so it can be very practical and right there. Right, the
Mhm.
answers are right there in the numbers.
Can you repeat this stuff about you have your day, your month, then what's the year that we add to that?
She told us
Uh,
this year was
add the
number 9.
You add the
Nine?
current year.
She told us
Well,
that this year was number 9. So
Yeah.
Spencer, what's your month? And then what
I'm,
day are you born?
I'm
10, 7,
10/7.
9,
And then
October
add the
10,
10th.
9.
17. You're in an 8 year.
Okay, so I'm in an 8. Okay, I'm gonna
Yes.
look that up. All right.
So Jim, you and I are in a 4?
Uh, no,
Oh no, you're a different day than you're a different day than me. Are you the 4th?
you're a 4. I'm a 3.
Oh, that's why it makes a difference. Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I always think you're the same, but no.
There we go. Okay. Let's see. All right. We've been here, been here. Here's some of the things coming up uh, from between now and our next meetup, which is March 9th.
Jim, I'm black
Yeah.
screen. I'm just seeing a black screen. Does anyone else see your screen?
Oh, why are you not seeing it? You're not seeing these? Let me
No.
stop sharing and try again. I'm seeing it just fine.
I don't know if it was just me or everyone, but
Okay, here we go. Try it again. Here we go. Share screen.
It was me too, but now I see him. I see you good now.
Okay, hang on. Let me try this again. Hang on. Let me get back to. Oh, I know what I need to do. Come over here. Stop that. Back up here. Fix here. Go here. Here. Stop that. Try this. No. No, 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 no. Uh-huh. Okay, where? Oh, wait. Oh, there it is.
Uh,
Okay. Got that. Got that. Got this. Got that. And we share. Okay. Are you seeing? Are you seeing the agenda?
No. No, it's blank still.
You still see the? Is it still blank? Or are you seeing the agenda?
It's still blank, dear. Nothing personal.
Okay.
Now we
All
see
right.
people.
Right again. Frightfully frustrating. Fortunately, I don't have a whole lot of slides. Okay. Share screen. Whatever that means. Okay. I'm going to share this. Here. Let's try this and see what happens. What do we see?
Gray?
Are you seeing it now?
No, just gray.
Well, it told me you could see it.
That's weird.
It
It
lied.
flashed up and it said you were going to do screen sharing, but it didn't do it.
It lied.
Zoom light. Zoom, zoom. I'm about ready to tell Zoom to stick it and try something else. Okay, stop sharing.
Jim, is it on your desktop or do you have it in some sort of program?
It's on my desktop.
Hmm.
So I don't
It has words. It says it's starting your screen sharing, but so far, double click to enter full screen mode. Does that mean anything? Is that for us to double click?
Yeah,
Yeah, hang on, let me try again. So I was seeing a blank screen there. Let's see. Share. Participants can now see your application, it says.
Mm-mm.
But you don't see it, do you?
No, but now it's not black, it's gray or blue-gray.
What the freak? You are screen sharing. Obviously, I am not. Once more with feeding. And if this one doesn't work,
Just share your wisdom. Don't worry about the images.
how about now?
Not for me.
Not for me.
No,
Wave
just that
says
blue
yes.
screen.
Somebody says yes, so maybe give it a minute. Maybe it'll pop on for the rest of us after. I don't know.
Wave said yes, but it wasn't for us, the rest of us.
Is anybody seeing the Santa Monica Astrology Meetup first page?
No.
No, all I see is like a little white square at the bottom center
I
of a black screen.
Uh,
see a little white square too, but Wave says yes to the 2 year for
okay. Well, you're not going to see it now because I stopped it, and I'm just going to tell you what I got.
yeah.
Okay.
That'll get us through it a little quicker, and we'll all be out of here and happy to go off and see doing whatever we decide. Okay, so here we go. Tomorrow Mercury will square Uranus, and that's the closing square, not the opening square. So it's kind of, yeah, but with Mercury and Uranus, you gotta be, careful about what you say. Um, be sure to double check your spell check, grammar check, recheck anything that you're going to write, say, post. Make sure it's only going to the people you intend it to go to.
Mm,
Um, and then on Tuesday, the sun will square Uranus, just to add to that energy. On the 12th, we have the full moon at 24 Leo. And
hey,
then
wait,
Mercury's going
slower,
to go
slower,
void of
slower. What?
course.
12th, we have what?
The full moon, 24 Leo 6. 24 Leo 6 minutes.
Hmm. Anything special about this full moon?
Yeah, it depends on what you got in Leo or one of the
Oh,
other fixed signs.
okay.
So Mercury goes void, of course, on the 12th. It'll be void all day on the 13th and on the 14th. Happy Valentine's Day, ladies. Early happy Valentine's Day for all of you. And then Mercury enters Pisces on the 14th as well. There will be 3 major aspects and 2 quincunx aspects. So it could be a little wonky feeling kind of day.
This is the 14th?
The 14th, Valentine's Day, yes.
Oh, okay.
On the 17th, the sun will go void of course, and then on the 18th, it moves into Pisces. Also on the 18th, Saturn leaves his shadow. That means he's going into new territory, moved beyond the point where he stationed retrograde last summer. Which is 19 Pisces and change. 5 major aspects on the 20th. 23rd, we have 4 major aspects plus a quincunx, and Mars will station direct, after which there are no planets retrograde for the rest of the month. That's considered a period of pure progress. Saturn is also in his pure progress zone, which is the area that he only transits one time during his orbit. It's space in between his retrogrades that he only crosses once, usually about 5 to 7 degrees. But it's going to last. It's going to be short-lived, only because there are Venus goes retrograde on March 1st, so then we'll have at least one planet retrograde for a while. There'll probably be some other, I think there's a couple of other short periods where there won't be a retrograde planet. But Venus is already in her shadow, and she will be in her shadow until May. On the 24th, we have 4 exact major aspects. On the 25th, there will be another 4 major aspects. On the 27th, we have new moon at 9 Pisces 41. That's opposing our suns, Rita.
Whoa, which is that? Tell me again.
February 27th, new moon.
February 27th, new
The
moon.
new moon, 9 Pisces 41.
And what does that mean for us?
Who knows? It means it's,
Just say it.
you know,
Want me to
it's a
punch you
new
in the
moon
arm
is a
right
new
now and
beginning.
say, tell me what you want. Come on, brother. Don't
You
do
know
that
what
to
it
me.
means.
It would be a good time to
He's a
start
big
something new.
tease. That's right.
Okay, I would say if you have something major that you've been thinking about starting or something, that you've been wanting to
Start it or
start,
don't
that would be a
start
good
it.
time for it.
I'm sorry, what? I interrupted you. What?
A time to start something new.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, conjunctions, which is what a new moon is, are always times for
Hmm.
starting something new. New moons are stronger than other conjunctions generally. The strongest, though, is the solar eclipse new moon. But yeah, so it's a good time to get something new started if there's something that you've been thinking about doing. Something more than just, maybe start reading a new, start a new book or something. February 28th, end of the month, moon wobble begins and Mercury enters their shadow. Or they're coming retrograde in March. And March 1st, Venus will station retrograde at 10 Aries 50. So keep that in mind. On the 2nd, Mercury will conjunct Neptune, then they go void of course, and the Sun will square Jupiter. And then on the March 3rd, Mercury enters Aries. So Mercury's moving pretty fast right now because she's just zipping through the signs.
Hmm.
On March 4th, there's 4 exact major aspects consisting of 3 sextiles and 1 conjunction. Sextiles can move easy and it's kind of pleasant, or they may turn out to be something more than that, where you realize you may have gotten yourself into something you didn't want to get into. So, and there will be 5 major aspects on the 5th, which includes another 4 sextiles and a trine. So there's a lot of sextiles coming up on the 3rd or the 4th and 5th of March. So be careful about getting into making any long-term commitments. Even some short-term commitments, because they may turn out to be a longer term than you expected. Somebody may be withholding information from you. March 7th, Sun trines Mars. March 9th, we have our Santa monthly meetup. I have a tentative guest speaker, but that still needs to get fleshed out. We'll see how that works out. If not, we will probably talk about more about Venus retrograde.
Okay.
Could you explain
Okay,
more
so
who she is?
who's it? Spencer?
Give us more background on the speaker.
Oh, well, it's not a definite thing yet.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's just a friend of ours that we've known for decades. She's astrologer, tarotist, uh, goddess, author.
Hmm.
Yeah, she's a Christmas Eve Capricorn.
Does she have a website?
Uh, Probably does. If I find it, I will send it out once she's
Great.
confirmed. I might send it out anyway. Okay, so back to Gail and the numerology. Um, Simple basics. If you take the year, this is 2025, and you add up the 4 digits, you get the number 9. So it's a 9 universal year, which is about completion. But to find your personal year, you then add the digits for the month and day of your birth to the 9. And do them as single digits, not, you don't add 11 as 11, you add it as 1 plus 1. And the date would be, like 2 plus 6, not 26, because that would throw your calculations off. So if you're to write down all the dates, 0 plus 9 plus 0 plus 3 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5. You write all the digits down and put a plus sign in between them, each digit, so that you end up with and then you end up with a number, and then you reduce that number down to a single digit. So when you bring in today's date, which is 2/9, 9 and 9 is 18, plus 2 is 20, it's 2 plus 0, so it's a 2-day year for this year right now. And then next year, once you got your number figured out for a year, if you put it someplace where you won't lose it, you can tell. Then the trick is next year is just one more.
Yeah.
Okay, and there is no 0, so it goes from at 9 you start over with 1 after 9, and you go through it 1 through 9, and then you start over again. So it's a 9-year cycle. So numbers run 1 to 9. So next year, since this 25 is a 9-year, 26 will be a 1-year. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6 is 10, and 1 plus 0 is 1. So I'm in a 3-year, so next year I'll be a 4-year. Reedy, you got a 4-year going into a 5-year next year.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
I got some nice stuff on Venus retrograde, and what I'll do, since screen shares aren't working for whatever
Hmm.
Zoom reason, and trying to find answers through Zoom is next to it's a challenge. Okay. So it all starts June 9th. I'm sorry, January 9th, when Venus reached its maximum elongation behind the sun, which is an astrological term that means it's ahead of the sun zodiacally. So its maximum elongation was 47 degrees, 10 minutes. So basically, Venus is going to max out around 45 degrees, a semi-square. She entered her shadow on January 28th. She stations retrograde 4:36 p.m. on March 1st at 10 Aries, 50 minutes, 9 seconds. Now, this will begin her transition from evening star to morning star.
Hmm.
So that bright star you've been seeing in the west in the evening, that's Venus.
Hmm.
Shortly after sunset, within a couple of hours, she's gone.
What date
On
is
March
that?
22nd, we have the retrograde Venus inferior conjunction to the sun.
Oh, I know.
That's when Venus passes exactly between the Earth and the sun. Exactly in terms of zodiacal degree of alignment, not in terms of going across the face of the sun.
What day was that?
March 22nd.
Oh.
That's actually my birthday. Is there anything else you can say about that day?
Well, their conjunction is at 2 degrees Aries, 39 minutes, 6 seconds. Let's see what else. March 22nd. It's a Saturday, so it'll be a good day to celebrate. Let's see. Day starts with the moon entering Capricorn. Then the moon will make a waning square to the sun, a waning square to Venus, and then a waning square to Mercury. And then to finish off the day, and that's like by 12, just after 12 o'clock, 12 noon. And then in the evening, it's the Sun-Venus conjunction. And that's when the new Venus cycle starts. Generally, they run from inferior conjunction to inferior conjunction. So think of it like a new moon, in the sense that it's the new beginning. With Venus retrograde, sometimes things from our past, old loves, old desires, something that maybe we wanted once but never got, or maybe something we did that we had that we loved that we thought we lost, may turn up. So if you're looking for a new love, you may end up with an old love coming in as a new love. Any number of possibilities.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Then on March 27th, Venus retrogrades into Pisces. That's at like 1:41 in the morning, but a few hours later, 6:13 a.m., she will conjunct Neptune as Neptune prepares to depart Pisces and step into Aries for just a glimpse, a reminder, if you would, because it's been 150 years since she left thereabouts. Then let's see, at around April 2nd to 4th, somewhere in that range, Venus should become visible as the morning star. She's still retrograde, so she's moving away from the sun. They're doing a double separation now. Once Venus stations retrograde, Venus and the sun will be what I call double applying, in that they're moving towards each other from our perspective. And after the inferior conjunction, then if we could see her, they would be moving away from it. They're moving in opposite directions now, and so they're separating, or double separating, as I call it. Venus will finally station direct at 6:02 p.m. on April 12th at 24 Pisces, 37 minutes, 30 seconds. So however that might play into your chart, keep in mind, even Venus and Mercury, even though they move fairly fast in their orbit inside the Earth, they will spend a couple, 3 days, sometimes even a little bit longer at that stationary degree. So if you've got something that is close to that, something in the 10, 11 Aries, 9 to 12 Aries, or 23, 24, 25, maybe a little broader space of Pisces, Venus is going to be there for quite a while. And so that could impact you based on what your chart is. And then, so Venus stations direct on April 12th. And finally, on May 15th, that night, shortly before midnight, she will leave her shadow. That is, she moves beyond 10 Aries, 50 degrees, 9 seconds. I mean, 10 degrees, 50 minutes, 9 seconds of Aries. Sunday, May 31st, end of May, Venus will reach her maximum elongation ahead of the sun of 45 degrees, 50 minutes. Head is an astrological term which translates to behind the sun in the zodiac. If you can follow how the earth turns and the heavens appear to move through the night sky, behind simply means that it sets after the sun, and her head means it rises before the sun. And at some point, tentatively in one of our future meetups, we're going to talk more about Venus, which type you have, whether you have a morning um, star Venus or a evening star Venus, and what some of the differences are, and what the
That sounds
significance
good.
might be.
That sounds good.
In mythology, the Venus retrograde typically dealt with her transition from um, the through the underworld, when she went from being unseen until she was seen again. During that time, she was considered to be transiting through the underworld. Started, I think the first of those is probably Inanna's journey into the underworld, which is old Mesopotamian. The Greeks talked of it was Demeter's quest for the return of her daughter Persephone, who had been abducted by Hades, aka Pluto, which is the Roman version. Ceres searched for her daughter Proserpina, abducted by Pluto.
Interesting.
And
All the
those
cultures have
origin
a
myths,
similar story.
yes, they all have a similar story. And they have to do with the changing of the seasons. In the spring, the daughter returns and the world becomes green as things grow in the summer. And with fall harvest, things wither and die as she returns to her husband in the underworld, knowing that after the quiet of winter, she will return with the spring. That's kind of how that flows.
Jim,
So
can
what
I
does a
mention
Venus?
one thing?
Yeah.
Uh, I was looking at Trump's chart too, and you know that for this whole year, he's going to have, especially in the next few months, he's going to have Uranus going over his midheaven again.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll square his Mars, and then it'll square his ascendant. The first time it went there, that was the first attempt at an assassination. So it's going to be interesting this year, since that it's going to be going into Gemini, and then it's going to go back over and square his ascendant again. So he's getting that all year long. He's getting that.
Mm-hmm. Third time, maybe, what to say, third time's a charm. But that won't be till next year.
But he's
No,
definitely
Yes,
but
it is.
looking good.
that's a lot of disruption.
It is.
And stress.
Yeah.
Just
But he is currently somewhat, he's going through a disruptive phase.
Yes,
He's,
yeah.
he learned from his first term what the realization he can't gather from his first term was what he might have done, what he should have done differently. I don't think he would ever admit that he did anything wrong,
No.
but he may admit that he could have done things differently, considering that he hires only the brightest and best people for jobs, and then, of course, has to terminate them shortly thereafter. But that's only because somebody better and brighter comes along, not because that person failed. All right, so Venus retrograde, what does it mean? Well, heck, we're astrologers. We should know all the answers, right? But I think it kind of depends on who you ask, because we all have our own opinions, don't we?
Yes.
Yes.
But generally speaking, Venus rules things that we love and or desire, relationships, money, possessions. Now, when Venus is retrograde, and these are my thoughts, you should avoid starting a new significant relationship, that being a relationship that you really might want to make something out of. That is one that you want to become something more. It's not a good time for it. For example, Venus is going through her shadow. You meet somebody, and just and maybe when she goes retrograde, you have your first date, and it goes so well, and then you really think you might want to make something out of it, but then she stations and goes direct and back over all this again, and you discover, or they discover, you discover they don't feel the same way. Um, you should avoid. I would suggest avoiding major costs or commitment purchases or contracts, because Venus rules money. So proceed cautiously. Read, reread all fine print before signing. If you have doubts, then don't do it. Wait until Venus is direct and out of her shadow, which will be May 15th. 16th. I'd wait till the 16th because it's late on the 15th. What you should do or can do is you can focus on your existing relationships, work on making them better, or if you've been thinking about ending it, well, now may be the time to do that. You can consider what, if you're not in a relationship, but you'd like one, then you take the time to consider what role do you play in the success or failure of your relationships. You have to take ownership. Relationships are made up of two people, and it takes two. So they're both responsible for the outcome. And it's a good time to review your finances, make a budget, know where your money's going, and plan for your future. Okay. There we go. So this is being recorded. I'll get the recording posted probably within a day or two, and I'll send the link out so you can all check it out. I will take this information I've got about the Venus retrograde and I'll put it into something else that I can post or send out to people, so you'll have that as well.
Good.
And for March, we'll have to figure out. Between now and then, got to figure out why the screen share wasn't working.
Yeah.
Spencer and I Skyped the other day. Well, we actually Zoomed the other day and it worked fine. So I don't know what's up with that. Okay, so we got a little bit of time.
I'd
So
like
anybody
to
got
note,
questions?
I'd like to note something, Jim. She said that 2028 will be the changeover.
Yeah.
And I find that interesting because in the new birth chart I have, we'll have Uranus going over the ascendant at that time. Which is
How
when we
apropos.
declared, which is when we declared our independence.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, the Treaty of Paris, yes.
Say that again, Nelia. 2028 is what?
Uranus transits the ascendant of her new America birth chart
New birth chart.
based on the signing of the Treaty of Paris.
Oh, the new birth
Right.
chart. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
I think
counts.
it all comes together. It's kind of like
Yep.
one way of looking at it. Let's see, it's like a long gestation period for the country.
Hmm.
Right.
Keep in mind that the Constitution didn't come in until after that.
Yeah.
Up until that point, we were under the Articles of Confederation, and I think it was the second version of that.
Right.
Constitution can be changed. It's been changed several times since it was originally written, but it requires approval of 3/4 of the states. 75% approval.
Well, if we include Canada, it could be changed easier if we make Canada a state,
Yeah, but see, I don't think the problem with making Canada a state is that Canada is
No.
already comprised of provinces.
I'm
So
I'm joking.
yeah, so do we call those counties now, or do we make each province its own
Oh
state?
God. Where does he come up with these ideas?
Oh, he probably thinks at least a half a dozen impossible things before he has his first Coke of the day.
We should all be vacationing on Gaza Strip, all that.
Yeah. I'm not sure where those people are going to go, but he doesn't worry about them.
By the way, excuse me, did Gail actually mention Neptune on the fourth house cusp of the
Yeah.
United States chart? Did she mention that? Because I wasn't here the first 30.
No.
Could we talk about it a little bit? Because I think it is important.
Oh, okay. I would show you the chart, but then again, my screen share isn't working.
It's
But
okay.
yeah.
It's March. I think it's March 25th. There's an exact conjunction of Neptune to the United States fourth house cusp.
Which chart?
Okay.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
it's not the Treaty of Paris chart. It's the July 4th chart,
Which chart?
the Sibley
There's
chart.
several. Sibley chart?
The
Okay.
Sybil, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought you were talking about. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. One Aries, 3 minutes. Is that what
When
you,
Yeah,
1 degree Aries?
when I first saw this a couple of years ago, I just started writing floods. I just kept seeing floods, 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 precipitation, water, like lots of climactic water-based disasters. That was the
Yeah.
first thing. It's not very positive, but but that's fine.
Let me see. Here we go. Let's do one of these numbers.
That was the first thing I saw. Then I realized the propaganda is going to be off the charts. It's already getting there with the AI. It's like perfect
Mhm.
time, right? Such perfect
Yeah.
timing. But then when Gail was talking about the changeover, I was thinking before the changeover, there's going to be all this confusion, confusion around what is the White House, confusion around what is the Constitution, confusion around the whole setup, everything. And that will confuse the people. Everyone's going to be confused, not just the government. The government will be confused. Everything is going to be in a state of transition and change because nothing's going to feel solid or grounded. That's my first take on the initial the initial disruption of Neptune on the fourth house cusp is usually first few years, it's usually drastic. Like, if you have it in your home, you'll see people dealing with floods and infestations,
Mhm.
things like this. So
Yeah. It's yeah, and I noticed that Saturn will also cross it in his pursuit of Neptune.
when is that?
Um, okay, let's see. So Neptune will cross on April 28th, 29th. That's when Neptune crosses.
I thought it was March.
Saturn is a little bit behind. Saturn crosses June 10th.
Oh, just after.
Hmm.
Wow, that doesn't sound good either.
Not when your birthday is June 14th and you're president of the United States.
Oh,
Shame on me.
I know. Yeah, well, running for president, doing all those campaigns and speeches, that's probably one of the most stressful things a human body and brain has to go through with all that pressure on you and having to appear looking good and making speeches. And, I, after a year of that, anyone at his age who eats mostly McDonald's and stuff or whatever it is that he eats, I don't see how he could he managed to get through it, which is really impressive. But after, with all this Uranus stuff coming in, I don't see him being able
Well,
to sustain.
yeah, I do believe his parents, he does come from some pretty good genes genetically in terms of longevity, but yeah, they lived a better lifestyle than he does.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
So he might get ill, which means that the VP has to take over.
yeah,
Yeah, we didn't
There's
talk about that if the VP has to take over. We haven't
there's
mentioned.
not much joy in that for me when I think of how he said, just one thing he said, women should stay with their abusive husbands for the sake of the children. Just that one thing that he said, and
It's
we're
enough.
dealing with a
Mhm.
psychopath. That's right. We're dealing with
yeah,
somebody indoctrinated into some kind of,
Mhm.
1690 mentality when they were burning women as witches. That's what I
yeah,
think when I think of him. And his wife
yeah.
goes along with it. I don't get it.
Do we know if Melania and Vance's wife are US citizens or not? Because are they American? They're not American born. They're
Yeah, they're citizens.
Yeah.
Um,
Of course they are.
Yeah,
Why? Because we could
Melania
deport
got
them,
her
you know,
citizenship,
huh?
and then I'm trying to remember if
Because they're both not
Aunt-
born in the United States. They're both not, I don't think.
yeah, she was from some Eastern Bloc country um, before the wall fell. Yeah, see, Donald Trump's father, Fred, he was 90, almost 94 when he died.
Hmm.
And his mother lived to 88. That's a decent set of genes.
Yeah, but they weren't running for president or
No,
dealing.
they weren't.
And they
And they
didn't have that
didn't,
sun Uranus, which is so stressful on a human,
no,
you know,
and they didn't, you know, dine at McDonald's all the time.
right? Not at all.
Yeah. I wonder which fry cook from McDonald's he hired for the White House chef.
If he gets ill or it becomes incapacitated in any way, that would kick in the Neptune, which I was talking about earlier, the confusion of the people. It'll be an incredibly confusing experience for people to deal with, the change of
Yeah.
guard and
Hmm.
not really wanting to. I mean, those people that voted. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it
Yeah.
definitely looks like 4 years of tremendous chaos to me.
Yeah. So then Saturn Neptune station retrograde. Saturn moves back across the IC August 15th.
Oh,
Neptune doesn't get there and it moves a lot slower. Neptune gets there September 11th,
September 11th.
12th, September 12th.
wow.
And then they don't cross it again until early next year.
That reminds me, you said September 11th. What was in the charts like for the floods we just had here in Southern California? Isn't there something that would show that, like
Oh, the fires?
fires? I said the fires. I said the floods, but I meant the fires. Is there something in the California chart or in the part of the United States chart from that area that would have even kind of foreshadow such
Let's see.
devastation?
Ooh.
You know, it's
Oh,
because our fire hydrants weren't strong enough. You know, that's the reason. It's because we withheld the water from here, you know, that's the reason.
yeah, they didn't have enough water to handle the extent of the fires.
But nobody would
It
have.
was a perfect storm, so to speak.
Mhm.
Um, I was curious about something, and
Perfect storm, Saturn, Neptune. That's really
mhm,
good. That was really good. That slipped out there.
yeah, Trump has one Aries in his eighth house.
Hmm.
So, I mean, Neptune is already transiting, it is in its eighth house. Saturn is pursuing it. So,
That doesn't look good. And the
yeah.
inauguration has the sun conjunct Pluto.
Hmm.
Um, Biden had that too, by the way.
Yeah.
But wow. Wow, it's at his eighth house cusp. Mm.
His eighth house cusp is, where did I lost it?
Well,
Is, his eighth house cusp is actually 28 Pisces 7.
also to be in
Nice.
there.
Yeah. So Neptune's
At
going to
the-
be in his eighth house for years.
Yeah. Does a Neptune hit his sun or ascendant at any time?
Let's see.
Doesn't that affect us, Jim, too?
Well, it
In-
affects everybody, but
because
it depends
he's
on.
he's had a
Neptune,
yod he's had a yod between Pluto and Neptune sextiling both in conjuncting his ascendant for quite a while.
Mhm.
Well, but that's true. He's
Yeah.
June and you
Oh.
and I are September, so that's the difference.
No, it's the difference is in the chart placement, where the planets are, what houses they're in. There's all that variety of differences because the outer planets don't really move that much between June and September.
Right. But the inner planets will have had
Yeah,
several months to
they move more,
change.
but yeah.
I got
Oh,
scared.
yeah. I gotta go, guys. I have to go to a Super Bowl party. I
Oh, how
went to all
fun.
the root for the Philadelphia Eagles against the Chiefs,
Chiefs, right?
Kansas City, who had it twice in a row. We don't think we had 3 in a row because we
Yep.
only want the major person to do that was the Los Angeles Lakers. Okay, have a good
All right.
day.
Thank you,
Bye,
Spencer.
Spencer.
We'll
Have fun.
chat.
Bye,
Okay,
Spencer.
Okay.
bye bye. One thing. This Pluto thing on my moon has been going on, and now it's exactly on my moon, and it's setting off a lot of things in my life. I
Oh,
will not
darn
bore
it.
you with it, but let's just say she was kind of right. Jim brought it up. See you, Jim.
All right. Bye for
Bye.
now. Have fun. Be
Thank you.
safe. All right. Any last questions before I stop the recording and we sign off?
Oh, I think,
I gotta get ready we're going to the Super Bowl party too.
okay.
Okay. Well, thank you,
I think
everybody.
that's it. And we are due for, you told us the date. We are due
Yes.
for March what?
March 9th. It will be somebody about something.
Okay. Have a good month if we don't talk before.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
I am going to
Okay.
stop the
Bye,
recording.
everybody.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.